you haven't been living under a rock, you'll understand that these past few years have been an attempt by the powers that be to um, just an attempt by the powers that be to knock women back a few pegs and in order to create a permanent underclass that will do all of that'll just create the next generation of you know unsuspecting slaves almost, for capitalism or for capitalist needs. And and in addition to that, there's also just been this en masse need for just the patriarchy has just been deploying and giving soapboxes to a bunch of low value and low quality men in order to um, weed out the weak males and to weed out the weak females. And I can talk about the weak men all day, but honestly, I don't give a fuck about men and what they do en masse. I'm here to talk about women and women's needs. And today I'm just going to talk about the dumb, desperate, and dangerous women that are tools by the patriarchy. And they're ultimately a danger to you if you are a high quality woman. Um, and today we're just going to go into that whole thing because honestly, it's just basically, I've unfortunately had to have my life be, you know, uh, not only uprooted, but, just fucked with in extremely ridiculous and intimate ways by my dumb, dangerous, and desperate, pick me sisters. Um, and it's not just them; it's also friends. It's just a dumbass woman's committee, And I'm not really big on separating myself from majority of people because, to be honest, we're all kind of more or less fundamentally the same. But to be honest, there's just a difference in temperament, a difference in thought patterns, a difference in lifestyle between certain groups of women. And I'm human, and I'm going to recognize these things. And yeah, I just have my own preferences and my own ideas of what makes a quality woman. And unfortunately, when you are a woman of quality and you have dumb, desperate, and dangerous women in your lives, when you have these pick me's in your lives, and worst of all, when these pick me's are related to you, um, you're going to deal with a lot of problems. And these problems aren't going to be problems that you created. No, these problems are going to be problems that these dumbass females have created. Um, and this is the reason, I used to sit there and I used to watch all these videos about pick-me's and how dangerous they are and shit like that. And don't get me wrong, I would heed that shit for females, the pick-me's that are outside of my family. But then I started, I just kind of dropped the ball when it came to the pick-me's that are in my family. And that was a really big mistake because it doesn't matter if a pick me is related to you or if she's not related to you. They all are the same. They're the same low quality, dumb and dangerous and desperate women. Like they're just all the same. These are the women that'll fuck up their lives and feel like you have to make up for whatever shit they got themselves into. These are the women who, no matter how much you try to tell them, or no matter how much assistance you give them in order to help them out of a ridiculous ass situation, they'll keep going back. Um, and they don't. They're just women with extremely low levels of self esteem and extremely low just they have absolutely no concept or no standards when it comes to um, not only how a man should treat them, but the type of lifestyle that their offspring should live. There's been a lot of attack on intelligent women, and by intelligent women, they call them modern women. And I would like to not only make this video a drag on these dumb, desperate, and dangerous pick-me's, but also in defense of the modern woman. Because honestly, it's just I just can't believe some of the shit that men and women actually think are unbecoming in a woman. Now, to be honest, a lot of these channels that talk about modern women are plants, and by plants I mean these people are agents of chaos that are meant to. Their whole purpose is to dysregulate, confuse, and agitate the population so that you guys are distracted and easy to manipulate. And unfortunately, too many people actually fall for that shit. And today we're going to talk about the women that fall for the whole idea of demonizing women with their heads on their shoulders versus women that are like the male equivalent. And what I mean, let's just get right into that actually. So, the first thing with these dumb, desperate, and dangerous pick me's is that they tend to think of themselves as feminine. They really think of themselves as more in tune um, with their divine feminine, and that they're feelers, and that they're just normal. And it's crazy to me that these women consider themselves normal, because it's like, if this is the normal, no wonder the world is in the state that it's in. No wonder the certain minority communities are in the state that they're in. Look at the women. Look at the men and look at the women. Look at what they idolize. Look at what they consider normal. A normal woman is a chick that at 18 wants to get knocked up instead of establishing herself. A normal woman is a to these people is a woman that wants to get married, and her whole life aspiration is just to be a breeder ultimately. The only aspiration she has in her life is just to um, by the time she's 24, she should already have, a husband and a few kids, and that's just a peak for her. Like, these women honestly think that a woman's peak, like, a woman starts, like, your decline starts at 25. And it's like, no, you finally become a fully fledged adult who can, you should 25 is that age where things just start. Between 25 and 35, that's when you start to build your adult life. That is not the capstone of your adult life. But for these women, the reason why they're called dumb, desperate, and dangerous is because they have such a limited scope on what they can achieve, on what other women should be able to achieve, on what's important in life. Like, they are just so fucking limited. That's just the definition of a pick me. A pick me is a woman that is limited. She is defined by limitations. These are these low quality and these low value men and women. They're all defined by limitations, and they see you breaking whatever things that they valued or whatever they thought about, and they hate you for it. And they hate that you live or that you seemingly exist outside of the limitations that they've placed for themselves. And this is what makes pick-me's really dangerous. And that is in that they they feel it's just that anger and envy and resentment that gets built up from hating you for existing outside of the limitations that they set for themselves. You can have had the same upbringing, the same damn near the same childhood, or maybe in fact a worse childhood. You had the worst one and she had the better one. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. These pick me's, they just it's something in them. They are not more mature. No, these people are literally like beasts. They're like animals in the field. It's no surprise that any of us humans feel these urges, especially between the ages of 16 and 50, before menopause hits, to reproduce and to become sexually active. That's what we all like. This is another thing about pick me's and these dumb, dangerous, and desperate women. They honestly think that, and the men that have created them, these groups of people that hate quote unquote modern women, they think that we don't have the emotional capacity to feel certain feelings or emotions, or that we don't recognize that our desire to take care and nurture things isn't attached to our desire to reproduce or things like that. Like, these women are literally fucking stupid. Like, they're like they're fucking stupid. And and they honestly think of themselves as these ideal partners or these ideal women because they did the good thing. Yes, master, I limited myself. I eat the portions of a child. I don't want more than I should have. Like, I don't have dreams my only dreams and aspirations are to serve you. I just want to suck your dick and pop out your babies. That's all I want to do. I'm such a good woman. I am such a great woman. Like, I don't want anything but to serve you. Like, this is how they are. Um, and and it's always funny because these women, they always wound up in the shittiest of, like, it's the most ridiculous thing. Like, you would think that pick me's would have some type of track record to show that their desperation and that their stupidity and that the way that they move somehow is beneficial to all women. But when you take a look and you examine the lives of fabulous women, you examine the lives of happy women, and you examine the lives of healthy women, and you examine the lives of miserable and unhappy and weird and just, women are just in extremely undesirable states, you'll see that it's the modern women that are getting the treatment that the pick-me's want. Um, and it's just sad and it's just ridiculous because it really, it's like, bitch, do better. Um, but this video isn't for advice for these women. It's for advice for women that actually have their heads on their shoulders and that don't want to wound up, a desperate baby mama that is living, and that is bringing up her children in such a shitty situation, and that can't do what she needs to do in order to not only support her kids properly but to support herself. um, these are for the women that don't want to be, another statistic. These are for the women that don't want to be, you know, that don't want their children doped up on having, pre-diabetes before they even hit, college because you've been feeding them nothing but junk. Um, and you're not taking care of you just can't take care of their physical and emotional needs because um you're just not prepared to because of the life that you've kind of created for yourself. Like, these are for the women that want to avoid that. And unfortunately, you're going to need to excommunicate these type of women out of your personal life because these bitches will get so fucking envious of you, and you will literally just be living your life, and these women will feel absolutely threatened by your existence and do everything in their power that they can in order to tear you down because they hate you. Honestly, at the end of the day, they're envious of you and they hate you. um Unfortunately, I have a sister that's a pick me. Like, she is a major pick me. Like, like it's gross, it's insulting, and it's gross. Like, I don't even think I want to be associated as her sister anymore because it's just the levels that she's willing to go to just to fuck up the life of another woman so that she can feel, just get her. It's just the insecurities with pick me's, like, it just reeks. Like, their insecurities are so fucking blatant. um and in my case, I talk a lot about gang stalking and harassment. And in my case, my pick me sister, she was someone that really, pick me sisters, because to be honest, it's both of them. um Once again, these are these women that peaked in high school, and they, like, that's just it for them. By the time they, like, their only aspirations in life were to be, once again, sucking dick and popping out kids. Like, that's just kind of it for them. um and these women, they are they just you don't have a problem with them, but they have a problem with you. Like, I swear to God, like, I never, like, the way I'm speaking right now is newly developed because I've just never in my life had to deal with, as a childless woman, I've never in my life had to deal with so much vitriol and backlash from women with children, and especially women with children that are in unsavory positions. Like, I've just never had to deal with so much hatred in my life from women, except for when it comes to them. And these are the things that they're going to hate about you. One, they're going to hate your beauty. Um, It's no surprise that, without all the stress that comes from, motherhood, both on the body and just mentally, you're in a much lighter state of being. You don't have as much baggage, you don't have as much literally, like, you don't have children strolling behind you, you don't have a man attached to you permanently. Like, you're very light and free. And they hate that. They see the version of them that they could have been if they, would have been a bit more selective, or a bit more careful, or a bit more, you know um, interested in creating a healthy home instead of just having any home. Um, so, they hate your lightheartedness. They hate your good naturedness. They just hate it all. Um, Two, they hate your fashion sense. Something you'll notice about a lot of women that can't, and men and women that can't stand modern women, is they like to sit there and talk about this whole idea of, dressing maturely or immature. Like, there's this big emphasis on modern women being immature, while these desperate ass pick-me's aren't immature. Like, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing more immature. There's nothing that states I'm an immature woman than being dickmatized. If a man can lock you with dick, like, you're fucking immature as fuck. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's really interesting to me how these women view themselves as these authority on what a proper woman should be. When you think about it, there's nothing more mature, there's nothing more maternal than being a woman that says, nah, I'm gonna make sure that my babies are set up in the best fucking position they can be, and I'm not gonna let near a weak male, near a low value male ever trap me. Um, in a situation to where my kids can have everything that they need. Like, I will never give birth under certain circumstances. And it's really interesting to me how, for some women, the circumstances for giving birth are so low. Like, this is the thing with pick-me's. They will give birth, they'll have sex, they'll do whatever under any circumstances. There's no circumstance that's just too low. There's no standard too low for them. There's no such thing as a low for them. Um, and that's something I noticed is the difference between modern women and pick-me's. Pick-me's, there's no bottom floor. The idea of, like, there's just no low for them. Like I said, these women really lack standards, and they hate the fact that you have standards. Um, and it's just, it's gross. Like, it's really, really fucking gross. Um, because it's like, sis, do you know what state this country would be in if a woman had, better standards? Like, I don't understand, like, how it is that some women can give birth when they don't have, the proper support. I don't understand how women can give birth when they don't have, like, the proper partner. Like, do you understand what it means to give birth, to, like, to let a man impregnate you? Like, these women don't give a fuck about the types of men that impregnate them. They don't care about the idea of who they're going to be attached to for life. Like, this shit just doesn't register with them. And the reason it doesn't register with them is because they care more about being the helpmeet to some man than they do about securing a strong foundation for their children. Like, their maternal instincts are extremely low, but their sex drives are extremely high. And this is what makes them masculine and very immature. They're extremely masculine, because we know men, they'll do that whole men like to, sow their wild oats. Men like to, men have extremely low standards of reproduction. And by that, I mean, men will literally fuck anything, anywhere. Um, and this isn't something I would say that's innate in men. I definitely think it's more cultural and more of a, something that's just happened because of like, just cultural attitudes and upbringings. This is what weak men do. This is what the low value men do. And unfortunately, there's more low value and weak men and women in society than there are, ones of just higher values and calibers. They just make up more of the population, and this is why it seems like their way of life is so normal and so ideal. And that's just because these people make up majority of the population. Um, it's just a case of numbers. It's not actually a case of value. Um, there's a high quantity of them, but there isn't high quality in their numbers. So that's the reason why they're so plentiful, and why they're so loud, and why they seem like they're just so accurate, or seems like they have so much support, it's just because their numbers are there. But don't let the numbers fool you, and don't let the loud sound fool you. No, their lifestyle and their way of living, and just who they are as people. It's just not giving for me, and it's just, if you're an intelligent woman, you know that this isn't it's just not good enough. Um, and this is the unfortunate, and it's really unfortunate when you're just a woman who is when you're a maternal woman, growing up around pick me's, because pick me's, like I said again, these women really aren't maternal. They're very masculine. It's just about the sex. Um, it's just about men for them. Men. Like, that's all that's on their mind. That's all they want to appeal to. That's all they care about. It's just dick and men. That's all they care about. They just want to be. That's just it for them. Um, they don't care about what comes next. Matter of fact, they'll sacrifice their children um, for the well-being of their man any day. Like, they just don't care. Like I said, once again, these women have a very low sense of maternal, very low maternal senses, and very high masculine. Like, they're just very masculine. These women are the type of women that'll pursue a man. Um, these are the women. This is the reason why they're constantly getting drugged through the mud by men. That's because they're pursuing them, and they're they're just latching on to them like it's like it's the last thing that they'll ever, like it's the most important thing in the world. Um, Once again, their ideal life is just to have dick in their life. They don't really care about being great mothers. They don't really care about, they don't care about their legacy. They don't care about, matter of fact, it's unfortunate, but and this is funny. I heard someone talk about it, but but there's some truth to it, and that is these women that view their children almost as like before the kids even know what a bill is, they're already expecting their children to be their meal ticket, their caretakers, their all this other shit. Like, the kids don't even know what the fuck. They don't even have a fucking concept of um of themselves yet. But before then, these pygmies have already, they're already betting on the male children that they so desperately wanted. Because let's be honest, all pygmies want sons, and I hope, there's just never. Some people like to wish daughters on people that don't want daughters, but I would never hope for a girl to go through that. Like, I'm so thankful that in my family, many of the, at least in my, in my generation, um, the women, the pygmies that I know, they haven't had daughters. Like, that just makes me so happy. I'm so happy they don't have daughters, because I can just imagine um, just the shit that the girls would have to put up with from their immature mothers that had them before they even experienced life for this world. Oh, and that's another thing I like to get into. Pygmies and their male counterparts have this real aversion to you as a woman getting experience. And by experience, I mean any type of experience traveling the world, experience you know sexual experience, business. Like, they just don't want you to have knowledge. Something that pygmies, and this is the thing that makes them dumb, pygmies are really, like, they love to they're just really big what's the word I'm looking for, they're really big on making known their ignorance. Like, they love it like that. That is their like, there's no shame in them for being, they just, they love the bimbo trope. They just love the idea of the fact that that for most days they really don't want nothing going on up there. um They don't want nothing going on up there. They don't care about higher level needs or thinking or anything like that. Like to them, all of that shit is just frivolous. None of that shit matters or is important. As far as I'm concerned, there's a balance. You know, there's just, you don't ever want to be too cerebral and you don't ever want to be too bestial. Um, but at the end of the day, if I had to pick which one was worse, I would definitely say it's being too bestial because it's just gross. Like I said, it's just gross how to the floor and how low the standard is for these pygmies, these dumb, dangerous, and desperate women. Um, so yeah, they're just really big on making their ignorance, leading with ignorance. And honestly, for a lot of women, playing stupid, playing coy, or things like that, like it's just unfortunately it's something that men select for in their mates, and so unfortunately, as women, like that's just it's a successful dating strategy. Um, I have on many occasions, especially when it comes to tech. I'm really into tech, and so sometimes I'll be talking to a guy, and he'll say, "Oh yeah, about this, that, and the third." I'm just like, "No, please tell me." And he's just explaining some shit I actually do know about, but I'm just like, yeah, go ahead, go off, bro. Why don't you go ahead and have that moment? Go sound smart to me. Let me. Ooh, I love a man that can explain something. Some bitches be mad about mansplaining, but mansplaining is different from a man who's just explaining. Like if mansplaining is, yeah, that's different. I can understand that, but yeah, I love it when guys, they go off on about something that they're passionate about or about something. I don't care if I know about it or not. I like a guy. I like to hear his voice and I like to hear him explaining stuff. And it's just nice sometimes to just hear a guy talk. Sometimes, in certain men, for the most part, them shutting the fuck up is way better than hearing them talk. But we can't always have that. Um, but yeah, with these pick me's, they're really big on leading with their ignorance, leading with their bimbleness, leading with their stupidity. And it's not that these women are stupid. No, I don't for a second think that these women are dumb or stupid. They are. They've made that part of their identity, but in order to make something part of your identity, you have to assume that just becomes one of the many masks that we in civilization put on. This is just one of the masks that they adopt. Um, but whether it's a mask or whether it's innate, at the end of the day it doesn't matter. These women are assuming qualities that make them a threat to other women. With my pick me sister, she worked in cahoots with these males in order to destabilize my life and to punish me for just being being better. Because that's what it really comes down to. Unfortunately, like I said before, these are new thoughts that I'm having. Because before, and to much to my chagrin, despite the fact that I had all of these other intelligent women telling me pygmies are dangerous, yes, even the ones that are related to you, for some reason, I chose to ignore my internet aunties. But one thing I'm learning is I'm gonna never ignore these bitches again. I will never ignore them again. They are absolutely right, 100% right when they say that pick-me's are dangerous. And trust me, I got two sisters for pick-me's, so I know how fucking dangerous they are. Um, these women are just like I was saying before, they have very low standards. The floor they have there's no floor to what they're willing to there's no floor to what they're willing to accept in order to perform certain duties or qualities. I always talk about how well, I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but in high school I wasn't very I wasn't sexually active at all. I didn't care to, like, it's just sex wasn't a thing for me and during my high school years, and that's because I honestly thought I was asexual at one point. um but interestingly enough, once I got around more mature men with more resources, all of a sudden this sexuality that I thought that I didn't have appeared. Take him and go. Bye. Goodbye. Goodbye. Run away, Junior. Run. He'll chase you. Go get him. Go get him. Go get him. If you want to come in, you can come in. Close the door. He can stay. But you gotta go. Come here, baby cakes. I have no idea what I was saying last, but I was talking about oh yes, for a minute there I thought I was asexual until I got around males with more resources and that were more mature. There was something about being around immature broke men that just didn't do anything for me. And I didn't understand this then, but now as an older woman, I'm beginning to understand that was just my body's natural way of defending me from, an unsavory position, an unsavory reproductive experience and position. It would be stupid as fuck for me to have, potentially got impregnated by these low quality males. And it's just, it's really interesting how biology does that. But that's just for certain women. Some women, it doesn't matter. For some reason, for some women, there really is no low. There's just, they can do it whenever, wherever, with whoever. And they just don't have that, they just don't have strong maternal instincts. They have strong fucking instincts. They, they'll feel all these emotions and things like that, but they don't have they just don't ever practice that secondary step in the bye. They don't practice that. Close the door. Bye. Bye. No. Close the door. 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 Baby. Yeah, they just don't have that that bite. They just don't have that next step in the in the biological longing, and in order to just ensure the fittest environment and ensure the fittest genes for their kids. They just don't give a fuck about that shit. Everything is very, what you'll notice with the pygmy is that everything is very surface level for them. Their sexual desires are surface level. Their maternal, quote unquote, maternal desires are surface level for them. Oh my gosh. Ashley, we're not going to play on this door. Come here. But everything is just so surface level for them. And so when they meet a woman, and these men, a lot of these men in this society, these low quality males, they're very used to dealing with women that have very surface level reproductive, maternal, and feminine. They're used to women that have very surface level, that just have surface level intensity levels for things like those maternal, sexual, and sorry, there's a cutie pie right here. Sister went out to look for a daddy for her kids, and yeah, got him here. But yeah, men are used to dealing with these surface level feminines, these surface level women. And so this is where some of that rage and anger comes from when they meet a quote unquote modern woman. They swear to God that we're immature, and it's like, bitch, there's nothing more immature. Like, you do realize that something that you would do if you do the research is that statistic on the 50% divorce rate. That's actually not true for all marriages. That's only that 50% divorce rate is only true for marriages that are for people between the ages of 18 and 24. Like, if you cap it off right there, getting married between 18 and 24, then you have a 1 in 2 chance of divorce. And they like to really shun modern women for at 20 to being for wanting to be single or being okay with being single at 25 and not married and popping out kids before 30. Like, there's just this real backlash against women that actually have deeper, more that care a bit more about um the type of life and lifestyle they'll set up for themselves and their offspring. And it's just and it's all part of the plan. And I just want to go a bit more into the plan and what role pick me's play in that plan. And just yeah, and the roles that the men that have created the pick me's play in that plan as well. So about the plan, they say that poverty isn't a bug of capitalism, it's a feature. It's not a bug, it's a feature. You need an underclass in order for there to be a successful class. You need a class of consumers, a class of buyers. You need somebody to fill up the prisons, somebody to do the menial labor, somebody to do all of that. And you need a large portion of them. Like, they need to make up majority of society. In order to fund the lifestyles of these mega rich, these mega, these people. You need a large class of low skilled, low just people that just aren't thinking much about just those higher value needs, desires, or whatever like that. Like, they'll see the lives of the rich and famous, but they aren't really that shit is bougie to them. Like, it's extremely unfortunate, but I literally had, I've been called by my, pick me sisters as bougie or thinking I'm better than them, just because, I I was given some advice from my perspective on, being a child with the same condition. She has a child with eczema, I have eczema. Something that I really resented about my upbringing was the fact that I had these really painful oozing sores that I would have literally that would dry to my clothing, and night and day, school and at home, no matter where, I would have to, after a few hours, rip my clothing off of my oozing body sores. And I was thinking to myself, like, oh, like, I hate this so much. In the summer, the eczema would kind of turn the color of my skin, and so people wouldn't really notice I had it unless they touched me. But when people would touch me, they would, back away or get really, like, they would just be really weirded out by me because of the fact that, they didn't know what the fuck I had, and they were just like, is that contagious? Like, ew. Like, I even had my own cousin tell me that one time. So it was something that was happening in my family and out of my family. And to this day, I still have the scars on my body from eczema. And it was one of those things where I was thinking to myself, man, if I didn't have to deal with, like, when I realized what the cure was for it, and all I had to do was, not have a diet loaded in shit, I realized, like, goodbye. 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 One of the things that I just really wish would have happened was, just that I would have had a parent that gave a fuck enough to feed me quality, food, so that I wouldn't have to deal with those type of issues. But unfortunately, I didn't. But then I wound up living with another relative who wound up being able to provide me with the proper nutrition that I needed so that I could begin to heal my body. And oh my God, my body went through transformations. And now I understand the relationship between food and the health of my skin um, very well. And not only the health of my skin, but like, like I'm all about, food being your medicine. Like I'm she was the family member that took care of me was a bit of a health nut, and I'm thankful that I got to live with her because I adopted her health nut ways, and now I'm a health nut in training, but I'm a health nut nonetheless. And I'm really hoping to make this year and especially next year some of my healthiest years. Um, but yeah, I'm someone who actually has, knowledge that I could impart on that. And she apparently took offense at me giving her some type of what she would call parenting advice when really it was nutritional advice. And at the end of the day, like she feeds her kids like shit. Like these children, if they stay at the rate, she's expecting society to social pressure from society to raise her kids for her. And this is the problem with a lot of people nowadays. Everyone is looking for society to raise their kids instead of them raising their own kids. And this is the reason why we have such like poor parenting is literally the root of majority of the problems we have in society. A lot of people are like, why didn't I learn this? And why didn't school teach me about taxes? Because bitch, your parents were supposed to teach you about taxes. Why didn't I learn about managing money and assets? Bitch, that's because your caretakers were supposed to teach you about that shit. But unfortunately, everyone's getting knocked up before 25 and they haven't lived life long enough. And 35 is when you start to, really begin gaining wisdom. 35 is when you're at that age where you are like, you can really begin imparting some serious knowledge. Um, 18 to 24, you're learning how to adult. 25 to 35, you're mastering adulting. And and beyond that, you're really yeah, I don't really go by society's ranges for what's appropriate at what time and age because something that I've learned is that the standards that society sets, they're not standards meant to free you. They're not standards meant to set you up for success. No, they're standards meant to set you up for slavery and poverty. The standard is to, get married right after college and start a family, all by the age of 25, at least before 30. You're supposed to buy a house and all that other shit. You want to know what that does? That saddles you with a fuck ton of debt that limits your ability to create real wealth. Not even just financially, but even, when it comes to just having that time needed to really think and plan. Having children before you establish yourself is the number one predicator of poverty, especially in women. Like when you have children young, it's just the odds of you getting out of it's like a poverty trap. um and it's just baffling to me how there's just so much like the American, like the standards that society sets for how you should live your life are not meant to help you. They're not in your favor. These people don't want to help you. And it's the same thing when it goes to health. The American diet or that little food pyramid thing that they give us, that shit is meant to kill you. Having carbs be 60% of your daily caloric intake will fucking kill you. This is the reason why heart attacks and strokes are the silent killers, are the number one leading cause of death in America. That shit is by design. You getting pregnant and married and starting a family and buying a house all before the age of 25 is by design to limit you. It is by design to trap you in fucking poverty or to fucking to fuck up your life. Eating the standard American diet is designed to fuck up your health. They design these things so that you can just stay a happy little to just live a brief and basic ass fucking life. And hey, you know what? If that's what you want, that's great. But what kills me about these pygmies and about these men, and notice how all this shit started when Black women decided to level up. Like, this is in direct response to the Roe versus Wade overturning, the pandemic, and the blood clotting, vaccine and virus, because if you get the vaccine or the virus, you have a higher propensity for blood clots and shit like that. And not only that, but then the birth control, which is also meant to raise your chances of getting a blood clot or having a stroke or a heart attack. All of this shit is meant to create a either to trap you in the lower class or to kill you off early. And these past few years have been extremely stressful and extremely crazy because they're trying to lower your immune system so that you're more susceptible to illness so that you can fucking die. This is what these people, it's all about population control, either through death or through slavery. And poverty is slavery. And this is what all of these standards for a living and how you should live your life are meant to do. This is what all, and this is the reason why pick me's are so fucking dangerous. It's because they're literally trying to walk you into the same death trap that they walk themselves into. And it's fucking disgusting. Like it's absolutely disgusting. And that's the thing about it's just that crabs in the bucket mentality. You know, these pick me, especially if they work so hard to be that perfect internet e-woman, and that didn't work out for them. Like they ooh, and then you, how dare you not, you know, how dare you be a hoe and you get a husband? How dare you not, cross your legs and wear pink and on Wednesdays and do this, that, and the third, and you're still you're getting better quality partners than I am. These women will literally sit there and fabricate entire relationships just to make you think, ooh, look at me, I got this, I got that, blah blah blah, I'm better. And it's just the most ridiculous thing in the world. Once again, I was in a place where I was extremely pro. I am still very pro women. I'm just not naive anymore. Before, my pro womanness was born out of some serious fucking naivety. But now I don't have that naivety anymore. Don't get me wrong, women are, we're like our biggest enemies, and it's not just well, no, it's men, but I mean, women, we really stand in our own way. And it's kind of like how, the best white supremacist is a black man. The best patriarchal agent is a woman. It's always the people that are in the camp of the oppressed that are doing a better job than the fucking oppressors themselves, and it's gross. Like, it's really extremely gross. Like, it's ridiculous how these men and women, it's just been ridiculous how for me for the past few years, I've been dealing with men and women that have been trying to punish me into being low value, that have been trying to punish me into accepting low quality and obviously negative, um, just ridiculous ass standards and treatments and things like that. Like, there's been a communal effort to to just lower my standards of living, of operation, of thinking, of being. And as someone who's had to deal with that, like an entire, like I said, this channel is mostly about gang stalking and stuff like that, but in a more just in a more understanding way. um this is the shit that I've had to deal with, and this is the shit that I continue to deal with. you know like, people are really fucked up out here. Like, people are really fucking fucked up. Like, they have been drinking Kool-Aid for so long. It's, the sugars done fucking insulated their fucking brain, and like, or actually took away the insulation for their brain. And and now shit is just firing off any and everywhere. It's just ridiculous to me how just how much men and women will really come together in order to lay low women with their heads on their shoulders, to lay low quality women. Like they're really trying to take the crown off of you. They'll call you queen, and you'll tip your head to them, and then they'll rip that crown right off you. They'll call you queen while they're taking your jewelry and your crown and your gowns, and they're ripping it off of you. And it's gross. Like it's really fucking gross. And I, for the life of me, cannot believe just how low the standard, how low the bar is, that women have for what they're willing to accept and what they're willing to reproduce in, and what they're willing to, sexually engage in. Like it's just crazy to me. Um, And hey, if you want to do that, do that. But at the end of the day, what's craziest about it is how they try to indoctrinate you with their same values. Like, I wouldn't be making this video if I could live my life in peace. But unfortunately, I can't. I have women, I have baby mamas, baby daddies, and, childless men as well, all working together to try and lay me low. And it's really interesting. It's just interesting seeing the type of shit that people value. And it's really interesting seeing the type of shit that people feel threatened by. And it's really interesting it's just been interesting existing on this planet as a woman who's just all about living my best life, living her best life. Like it's really interesting watching just the sheer number of people that get extremely uncomfortable with that, and the sheer number of people who feel threatened by your quality, by your integrity, by your standards. And I don't know what to fucking tell you, but at the end of the day, like I don't envy anyone. I know what I want out of life. What's funny is, um, it's funny because so many people, honestly, like, and it's all a part of something that I like to do. When dealing with these harassers and these stalkers and these pick me's that have banded together with weak ass men. When weak ass men and women join forces, that's a very dangerous thing. Um, but what's been really interesting, or something that I've learned from just being around and being targeted by these low quality men and women, is that they're very interested in is that you know playing the whole, I don't know, ditzy or dumb. That can be helpful in some ways, but at a certain point, it just stops being believable, or it stops being of any assistance to you, and so you're going to have to pivot into something else. And considering I've been more mature than these people, at the age of fucking, I was 20, a fucking kid, and I was more mature than half these fucking adults. Like, I'm literally, something that I've been learning is I've literally been having to teach adults how to be adults. Like, it's the weirdest thing ever, recognizing that you're more mature than your older siblings, or the people that, sometimes even the people that fucking raised you. Like, it's a very weird, realization to come to. But life is the great equalizer, or they say death is, but I mean, I'm gonna just say life is. At a certain point in time, you reach a certain age where there's really not much your parents can tell you. There's not much your sisters know more than you. Like, they don't really know too much more than yeah, just those familial roles and expectations, they start to just kind of, those age related, roles and expectations just kind of get thrown out the window, because they become less and less relevant the older you get. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, I am a woman who is a victim of, a sister pick me who tried to destabilize and fuck up my life, because someone with a greater power imbalance than her, I'm pretty sure it's a male with a greater amount of power, came into her life, and was just interested in trying to fuck with me, and she went along with it because she's She's a fucking pick me, and she will literally what pick me. It doesn't matter. They'll throw blood to bone under the under the bus if it means being chosen, if it means being selected, if it means coming out on top or looking like she's on top. These pick me's are all about image, and that's where that immaturity comes in. They are all about image, 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 image. It doesn't like this is once again nothing else, very surface level. Once again, that's the thing about pick me's. They're very, very surface level femininity, surface level motherhood, surface level adulting, just surface level shit. And they're really living this life for other people instead of themselves. Um, and that's the thing that a lot of men and pygmies hate about modern women. They hate that we're the women who are living for ourselves. you know like they really can't stand that shit. They really expect you to be dressed down in a fucking burqa at the age of 25, because by then you're this decrepit old woman that shouldn't that should be hiding your body instead of prancing around in a fucking bodysuit, because how fucking dare you, that's doing too much. There's just so much hatred and vitriol for modern women because we're intelligent, we're powerful, and we're not going to put up with certain amounts of bullshit. Our standards are just higher. Um, and in a society that needs an underclass, in a society that needs poor people, in a society that needs, consumers. Yeah, in a society like this, modern women are a threat because they and our teachings are a threat because once again, modern women run the world, just to be very clear. Candace Owens will tell you to settle down, and get knocked up all before the age of 25, you know and buy a house, and and stop being a career woman. All the while she's a fucking career woman that got the degrees, got all this other shit, and then became a wife. And even then, after becoming a wife and a mom, she's still out here working, doing interviews, doing like she's a fucking modern woman. And it's just really ridiculous watching these really impressionable and immature women um follow these standards and guidelines, thinking that they're being mature and wholesome by doing so, when in reality what they're doing is you're just being pawns for the fucking system. And fist in the air, bitch, I ain't no pawn for nothing. But that's just something that you're gonna have to deal with when you're a high quality woman. You're just gonna have to deal with that shit, and they'll come on you hard. Like I've literally been put through. Like I said, if you're on this channel, you know, and if you don't know, gang stalking is like on mass narcissistic abuse. I've literally been put through the fucking ringer. And it's just because I've been targeted by extremely immature and extremely weak-minded, extremely unloyal, and extremely just basic group of people that are trying to create an underclass. Like what's going on right now, all these shifts and changes in society. Once again, this is just the patriarchy. It's going on the globe, and once again, this is just the patriarchal backhand to the advancements that women have been making. Like they don't, too many black women have been getting degrees. Too many of the people that were previously resigned to the underclass have been making strides to get up. And when too many people are trying to make strides to improve their life, that just kind of tips. It just makes something you'll notice about America if you leave this country is that competition is actually pretty fucking low here. Like I know a lot of people think that America is just like this. And once again, it's typically people that don't travel. Oh, and it's another thing that's funny about pygmies. They'll sit there and they'll knock you for traveling and getting your life and just living life in one breath, and then in the next moment, you know, as soon as they think that they've hooked a man with money, They're all like, oh, you know what, I think I do want to travel. Traveling seems fun, exciting. Like, yeah, it's just really interesting how these women, they just don't like you for you. Like, that's really what it comes down to. They love the fact that you travel, the fact that you take care of your body, the fact that you buy nice clothing, the fact that you eat quality meals, the fact that you have certain standards. They love all those qualities. They just don't like you. And this is what, it really comes down to with pick me's. They just don't have the mental fortitude and the self-esteem needed in order to enforce these certain quality standards. Just to, yeah, enforce these certain qualities in your life. And another thing about a pick me is that they're going to wait for a man to give them these, standards. They will not go out, themselves in this world in order to make sure that they can ensure a certain lifestyle for themselves. And, go looking for a man to maintain or add to their lifestyle. Um, Pick-me's don't do that, like I said, the first dick they can hop on, they'll do it, and they'll start breeding immediately, with these low quality males, and then they're just looking for a man to, to provide a life for them. And this is the reason why their kids tend to grow up in such dodgy and, shitty environments, and why they tend to, stay in poverty and stay in these shitty environments. And that's because they're waiting on someone to save them instead of saving themselves. um they really don't like the idea of being their own hero. That's too modern. That's too men. You need to give a man trust me, baby. I have more than enough stuff a man can do in my life. But I'm not about to wait on a man to give me spa dates and travel the world and wear nice jewelry and things. Like, I'm not about to wait for a man for that shit. No, I'm gonna give it to myself, and he's gonna give it to me too. I got my bag and I got his. Like, they don't. But anyways. But yeah, that's just what you're dealing with when it comes to these pitneys. They really don't, they just aren't operating in the same league as you. And they know this, and they'll do anything to bump you out of your league, and then to get into, like, they'll trash talk your league, all the while they're gunning for your position. That's just kind of what they do. But at the end of the day, what these women don't real and this is another thing that's really ridiculous about them. They have such a scarcity mindset. They really think that there's not enough room for everyone. And you're just sitting there like looking at them like, you do realize you can have this shit too. Like, sis, you don't have to gun for my position. There's enough for every like, they're literally in this crazy ass competition. And it's just like, what are you competing for? There's enough dick out here. There's enough resources out here. There's enough money out here. Like, calm down, sis. Like, calm down. But you know, um, they wouldn't be a pick me if they didn't have that scarcity mindset. Um, so yeah, that's a bit about them. And I also want to go into some tips and tricks you can go into, you can deploy in order to minimize the influence that these weak women and weak men have on your life. First of all, this is some advice I really wish I would have listened to. But first of all, you really gotta listen. You need to listen. When someone tells you that these pick me's are fucking dangerous, listen to them. They really are. Like, these bitches will fucking kill you if they had the opportunity. And it ain't even about a nigga. It's just about you. They just want you out of the fucking, like, if they can just wipe you off the face. If they could wipe all women off the face of the earth, they would. If they could be the Eve, they would. Like, they don't, it's really not even about you. It's just about them and their insecurities, that they are insecurity led. Pick me's are led by their insecurities, and someone who's led by their insecurity, that's a very dangerous person. These people will literally fucking kill you. They will literally set your ass up in order to be ridiculed, in order to be put through different forms of abuse, in order to be stalked, in order to be harassed. And they'll sit there and laugh all while it's happening. You'll be going to these girls for support, thinking that you're getting support, thinking that they care about you, thinking these hoes don't love you. These bitches love dick. Dick is like their lord. And they're, like I said, pick me's are literally they're like transvestites. They're like really masculine women. Um they'll fight a chick. They will they're really big on pursuing. um they're really they're just very masculine. These women are extremely masculine, and if you think they wouldn't fight you or off you or try to find a way to kill and destroy you, you are wrong. These pick-me's are highly masculine. um and they will, like, that's just, they'll do that shit. So you don't ever underestimate, the jealousy and envy that resides, inside of a pick me, because that shit will come out, and she will, yeah, she'll just, try her best to turn your life into the nightmare that she's living in. Because trust me, these pick me's are not happy. Um, you know, they're not happy. They don't care. And they are they have this mindset that a lot of people actually, that a lot of toxic parents have. And that's the mindset of, well, I survived being beat and in poverty and all this other shit, so you can too. Why can't you survive that shit? Well, yo, uppity bougie ass, man, you think you better than me? You think you don't deserve to go through the shit that I went through? You think you don't? You think you too good to go through? Like, this is them. It's them. And it's, it's gross. Like, it's trust me, you don't want to be on a pick me's radar. And unfortunately, when you're a high quality woman, you are like, the pick me's literally gravitate towards you, because men gravitate towards you, and wherever the men are, the pick me's are. And so you become this thing that, men gravitate towards, and they're watching you get the love and attention and affection that they desire. And it just, spurs a lot of hatred and envy in them. Like, they you just living your best life, and they are seething, and they want you destroyed. um and so you really need to listen when people tell you how dangerous pick-me's are. They absolutely know no loyalty. They have no sense of sisterhood. um and look at the shit that they're willing to put up with. Another thing, watch out for women that constantly blame other women. Something you'll notice about pick-me's is that, to them, everything is the woman's fault, no matter what. No matter what. Like, she will literally, all of the worst experiences in her life will tie back to men, but at the end of the day, she'll still find a way to blame women. A man will have cheated on her, and it's these hussy modern women's fault that they are sleeping with taken men. And these bitches, they'll do the same shit that they're dragging women for. But at the end of the day, like I said, they encapsulate the 3 Ds, which is desperate, dumb, and dangerous. So that's gonna come with it. That hypocrisy is gonna come with it. Um, Not only that, but yeah, these men will have physically abused them, have almost gotten them arrested. They'll be cheating on them left and right, and at the end of the day, the problem never lies with the man. It always lies with other women. No matter what, pick me's always find a way to blame women. So if you're around a woman that, no matter what she's going through, she's just constantly talking about bitches and females and all this other shit, that, honey, that's a pick me, and you need to take note and get the fuck away from her. Because a woman that is constantly victimized by men, but finds a way to blame women for her victimization, yeah, she's not all the way there. She's a dangerous person. She's a fembot at that point. She has been completely indoctrinated with patriarchal with yeah, she's just been completely indoctrinated with patriarchal she's just completely brainwashed and patriarchal woman hating misogynistic rhetoric, and that leads her life. Like that shit is like her, like misogyny is her guiding star. It is that thing that, you know, she looks up to in order to, you know, make decisions in her life with. You know, she's literally she's just a fucking fembot. Um and not the hot kind that winds up eventually destroying her male captives. No, she's the kind that is weaponized against women. She's the, you know, she's that type of fembot. You know, because there's a lot of movies about these women that are intentionally created to serve men, but then wound up, you know, turning on them. But no, these fembots, they're not that type. They'll never do anything, anything to make a man uncomfortable. They'll make their kids uncomfortable before they make a man uncomfortable. They'll make themselves like these women. They just don't. Anyways, so yeah, look for women bashing in women, because that's a very very strong indicator that she is a pick me, um, or that she just has had very low quality female relationships. Um, and honestly, same sex relationships for men and women are pretty lackluster, pretty basic and rudimentary, and they're not very. They're just whatever for the most part, and that goes for men and women. Um, but at the end of the day, you know, still, if you can't, with a pick me, you can't even plan a girl's trip with her because why she want to be around you bitches? She needs to be up under her man 20, like, you know. Anyways, she think that shit is immature. Like to be a 30-year-old woman, you know, planning a girl's trip, that's immature to her. Everything, her standards of maturity and and success all revolve around men and penises. That's it. That's it. If it ain't involving them, it's worthless. Like I said, she's literally like the male equivalent, in female form. Those men that are all about pussy, 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 this, that, and the third, nothing about but about getting females and all that stuff. She's literally the masculine woman. She is the male woman. She's the she-male. Pick-me's are she-males. um, but but yeah, so recognize these she-males and make sure that you don't ignore the signs because these women are fucking dangerous. Dangerous. They will literally, you know, um, um, they're just gonna mobilize with males in order to destroy other women. Because one of the pick favorite pastime is throwing other women under the bus. Because when they're if they're not the ones being thrown under the bus, then hey, that means that they're the good women. Like that is just their favorite pastime. Because that's just one more female, one more bitch that she ain't gotta worry about stealing her man. I swear to God. Um, yeah, you need to make sure that you really limit what you tell these women and what you share with them, how much you share with them, and just how much of a role they play in your life. Like you got to really test these women, because pick me it honestly is on a scale. There are some pick me's that are less dangerous than other pick me's. At the end of the day, being a pick me is horrible in general, but unfortunately, because so much of the female population is comprised of pick me's, and that's by design. Unfortunately, that means that not eight, 9 times out of 10, you know, your female friend is going to be a pick me, especially if you're not. If you're not one, odds are the women you're surrounded with in school, in work, no matter where. Honestly, these these women are all desperate to be wives and to be mamas, even if they have to shack up with shitty men. They have so much of the female. So many people, so many females have extremely just low standards. Like they just, I remember I was working at this one swanky little steakhouse, and the man, he was, um, he had planned a what is it? a 100-day anniversary. Like he had been dating this girl for 100 days, and so he planned like a 100-day anniversary dinner at this swanky little steakhouse. Um, and I was thinking, that is so cute. Like, look at this guy trying to show his girl that he really appreciates her. Like, look at the effort. This is what I'm talking about. You want to know what one of the bitches had to say there? This is so dumb. This is so stupid. What the heck? Like, who does this? Ugh. If my boyfriend did this for me, I think I would like, I'd hate it. And I'm just like, ooh, look at you, like, girl. This is what I mean. Like women who just have like their standards are literally in the gut tour, and they the gut tour where they want to reside. Like these women, like they just want that shit. I don't know what is up with them. I don't know why so many women want such low quality experiences, and why they want such low effort from the men that are supposed to be their life partners. I really don't get it. I don't get it on a psychological level, and I don't get it on a biological level. Like my body won't even allow me to like I can't even like in certain states I literally can't even be aroused. Like I don't like I can't relate. I can't relate at any level. Not biologically, not psychologically. Like, I just can't relate. And it's really interesting. It's just really interesting to watch it happen. And what's really interesting is that these pick me's and these low quality males will do everything to try and make modern women or women that have their heads on their shoulders seem like they're so detached from their biology. And it's like, no, I'm actually very in tune with my biology. But this is how this society works. When women decide to let the government and society dictate their standards and dictate their phases of life and dictate, just their lives, what you have are a bunch of cuck-headed, immature women running around creating the next generation of prison labor, um, poverty kids that are gonna, fund this, that are gonna be, used by the state, as cannon fodder or some shit like that. That's what you have. But when you're a woman who's actually in tune with her own, with her, not only her own body, but with her own desires and with her own, yeah, just when you're very in tune with yourself, none of this shit is gonna like none of it's gonna fly with you. Like it's just not gonna that it's just gonna be unacceptable for you. Um, and I don't know what to. And these low quality women, they will. There's just certain women out here that just don't have the same on a biological level. They just don't have the same standards as you. Um, and my body has always been high maintenance. Like I said, I have very sensitive skin. Like it needs really thick. It needs quality. It needs constant pampering. Like I just always had a high maintenance body, even when it comes to my hair, when it comes to like, it's just always been high maintenance. And I don't, there's just certain things that as a woman, like there just comes a certain point in time where it's just like, you can't live certain ways. You need to do what you need to do in order to get out of those ways. And for pick-me's, attaching themselves to a man or someone that could, give them or take away that lifestyle. Like that's one of the differences between myself and these pick-me's is like, I'll get that shit for myself. And then I'll go looking for a man to add to or maintain it. But I'm not about to I just, I need this shit for me. I'm doing this shit for me. Like I need it for me. They need that shit for men. I need that shit for me. And that's the difference between, pick me's and women with their heads on their shoulders. Everything revolves around men for these pick me's. But when you are a woman with your head on your shoulders, it becomes like you just know you know your place, your importance, like no. They try to sit there and make it seem like my woman don't know it. No, I know my place very well. I know my place extremely well. And you're not about to convince me to lower myself. And once again, this is what happens with women that allow society to dictate for them the seasons of their life, the um and just everything else that comes, with being a female. Like it's just they let everything outside of them dictate, you know, how they should live their life instead of turning in. And they think that they're turning in. What they're doing in reality is that they're consulting the ideas that have been they've never gone through a deprogramming period. You know, a lot of people have to deprogram, honestly. Even everyone does. Some of us less so than others. Like fortunately for me, I've literally always walked to the beat of my own drum. Fortunately for me, I've literally always done things at my own standard and at my own pace. I do not follow the standard guidelines for certain just ideas on when you should have this by this age and by that. You know how many people have called me immature or weird for not, for being a woman at 25 that just isn't settling down. Like, how, like, it's the most, like, how many men have literally tried I had a manager who tried which has always tried this weird shit of, you're 25 now. Some people are, they're having families and settling down at your age. You need to. I'm like, nigga, I don't give a fuck what those people are doing. And guess what? We gonna see who's where. At 35, we gonna see. We gonna see. Um, but at the end of the day, don't let this world fill your head with ideas on with just these crazy ass limitations. Don't let them do that shit to you. Don't let them. Truth be told, it really is best, whether you're a man or a woman, to establish yourself before settling down. Um, and it's not just best for your relationship, but it's best for what comes from your relationship. A lot of people, men and women, once you get together, you form families. And families are literally the fundamental structure of society. And when the family structure is broken down, when the family structure decays, when the family structure is threatened, the quality of the state, the quality of the country, it all collapses. And I remember I was talking earlier about how low competition is in America. Um, and that's because it honestly is here. And you want to know why it is? That's because there that's because there isn't this en masse quality parenting. No, there isn't an en masse good parents. Like in places like China or Japan, there is a large mass of just social pressure and social engineering meant, meant to define and create really quality, high quality, just partners and parents. Um, they have a very strong family system in these countries. It might not be the healthiest because let's be honest, there's a reason the suicide rate is so high over there, and it's not just because the population is fucking, exploded or anything like that. But there's some positives that come with being in a nation and in a society that actually cares about creating quality, setting up a quality foundation. Um, and America is just one of the worst west yeah, it's just one of the worst Western nations and just global nations in general for creating and maintaining a quality family structure. People out here will literally, like, they fucking hate you for suggesting that that creating a more quality home for your offspring is important. Like, they hate that shit. They say, "Oh, there you go again. You're looking down on me. You're talking down on me. You're just trying to." It's like, no, no, no. So at the end of the day, you can be mad all you want to, but facts are facts. Kids growing up in healthier households, they're happier. they are happier. Now, healthy is defined by a number of metrics, but everyone likes to sit there and treat it like it's all or nothing. You either give children money or you give them emotional support. You do either or. Um, and truth be told, depending on the child, it really depends on the kid. But at the end of the day, that either or mentality is terrible. Giving a child only emotional support and giving a child only financial support, or mostly emotional support, or mostly financial support, it's all bad. It's all bad. It all sucks. Like, we really need to do better, not even just on this country but on this globe, when it comes to parenting and when it comes to families. And a lot of people, especially if you are childless, ooh, do they hate you talking about children and families and all that other bullshit. But it's like, bitch, it was as a childless person that you learned to be a parent. It was as a, people like to sit there, like, at the end of the day, you can say whatever the fuck you want to, but at the end of the day, it doesn't take me being a man in order to speak on, the shit that's wrong with men. It doesn't take me being a parent in order to speak on the shit that's wrong with parents. I was a child before. I know what I lacked, and I know what my friends lacked, and not only that, but I've actually done a lot of work with children, and so I have a lot of just experience. I'm mostly older kids, like in the elementary to high school range. But I've just been spent years, literally years, working with the youth, working with children, and and I'll tell you this, like, being one of those people that like, people like to sit there and tell children what to do, but they don't like to sit there and model for children what to do, and that's something that's really lacking. Um, Especially in the US, it's just models. There really are no more role models. There really are no more there's just no more models in this society. Um and that's another thing I noticed when it came to my gang stalking and harassment. These people, they were trying to make claims that they wanted to help me, but something that was really interesting about them is that they were constantly trying to either socially pressure me into certain avenues or tell me, certain avenues. But none of them wanted to just model. None of them wanted to just model, appropriate this, that, or whatever behavior. It's really weird. And if you stated your needs, like, I need a study group, that's what I really need. It'd be, oh, no, no, you don't need that. You should be able to study in isolation, you'll be just fine in isolation, 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 isolate. Like, it's just really ridiculous. um you need more money thrown at you, you need money in isolation, that's what you need. And it's like, I need a study group, and yeah, that'll be cool. But but yeah, at the end of the day, what you're dealing with is a bunch of people who think that they have an authority on a subject when in reality they don't, or that they would really benefit from listening to someone else's perspective. But they're just so gung ho in their own way that they really just, yeah, they're just as closed minded as they're accusing other people of being. And I really don't give a fuck. I'll speak on parenting if I want to, because I've been parented, and I and there's just some things that, no, 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 no. But But yeah, this is just kind of my video on, like, pick me's and the men that create them. There's a lot of dumb, desperate, and dangerous women out here that will do their best to work with men and the powers that be in order to limit you, in order to gaslight you, and in order to either kill or make you one of the statistics with them. And they really hate your integrity. They really hate your strength. They really hate your ability to navigate all of their their traps and shit that they set for you. Like, they just hate that shit. And they'll do everything. They'll literally work with people in order to dysregulate your life, and in order to throw you off of your, to just to knock the crown off your head. Like, you know there's this one dream I had, And in the dream, I was looking in a bookshelf, and the book that really caught my eye and that I pulled off the shelf was a book called, To Kill a Queen. And when I opened the book, um, I didn't exactly see pages, but the dream just changed. And in it, I was kind of just looking at certain events, or I was just kind of passing through certain events that have happened in my life these past few years. And it's just like, to kill a queen. Yeah, this is the abuse that these pygmies and the men that they're working for will put you through. Like, it's all in, like, if you want to know how to kill a queen, these pygmies will, and these low quality men, they'll show you how it's done. um they're all about, humbling women, like what you've been noticing lately. This is a reason why people like Kevin Samuels went as viral as he did. And that's because behind the scenes, what you have is just this push by these weak, low quality males to really humble, quote unquote, humble women. And what they really mean is, we need an underclass. And some of you bitches, you're not going to get to be in I'm sorry, you're not going to get to be in the upper echelons of society. We don't want you there. And you need to humble yourself and not improve yourself. And we're going to do everything in our power to stop you from improving yourself, just so that you can be in that, trapped in that underclass. Um, and it's really gross. What Kevin Samuels meant by winter is coming is he meant that men are strategizing in the background in order to destabilize and fuck up the lives of women. This is what's all been. This is the reason why his bitch ass was honored, and I'm pretty sure it's black men mobilizing in the background, and that's because the biggest, once again, the greatest supporter of white supremacy and the greatest supporter of the patriarchy are the weakest males, and the weakest males are black men. Unfortunately, um very, very unfortunately, for the black women and just women in general that get involved with them, um because they're really adamant about tearing. Like, women are their biggest threats. Black men don't compete with other men. They don't compete, in male dominated spaces. They're all in the home. They're all in women dominated spaces, and they're all in women's business, because at the end of the day, these men are weak. And there's this one research paper that was done on I think it was a sea creature, a male sea creature, but it could have been a mammal too, like on land mammal. But it was doing this. It was just kind of, I need to look it up. But in short, it just showed that when something one of the defense strategies that the weakest males in a group will do is that they'll pretend to be females in order to not get not face the the wrath of the dominant males. And that's kind of what black men are kind of doing. Like, they're trying to enter and dominate women's spaces because they don't want to deal with the pushback and the the smackdown that they would get in more male dominated spaces, especially male dominated spaces that are dominated by other races of men, where they know that they just can't compete. um, and this is the reason why you have so many yeah, this is the reason why you just have so many men really making their black men really making their bread and butter off of shit like what women should be doing or shouldn't be doing. Like, this is just, once again, it's just weak men doing weak men shit. um and if you're a smart woman, you'll make sure that you aren't trapped by one of these weaker males, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how paid he is. It doesn't matter, what he looks like. At the end of the day, it's about that mindset. If you have a mind that's a man with a weak mind like that, a man that's, all up in women's business and shit like that, like, that's just, that's a weak male. You need to avoid that. Um, but but yeah, let the pygmies and the weak males have at it. Let them do their thing, and um you just focus on securing your income. You focus on securing yourself, and you focus on getting around better quality and higher quality people, because that's what's going to save you. Because unfortunately, and especially if you're a woman from humble beginnings, I'm really not trying to knock poor women because look, honey, we all have a backstory. Um, but at the end of the day, it's really unfortunate. Like I feel the most for women in that group, because to be an intelligent and high quality woman among, you know, people that just aren't of your caliber, like it's really lonely and it's really dangerous. It's lonely and it's dangerous. It's lonely because unfortunately you are literally going to be a lone wolf. Like you're going to have to just operate on your own because unfortunately there just aren't enough women that value the things that you value or that see the vision that you see. They don't have the same vision, they don't have the same mindset, they don't have the same they just don't care the same as you care. And in fact, they'll resent you for having your interests the way you do, and for having your beliefs the way you do. Like your existence is literally cause for resentment in these other women, and you're just gonna have a very lonely and arduous journey. Um, yeah, it's just gonna be lonely and arduous. And I feel for you, and and what's worst of all is you really don't even like you probably all this shit is just innate for you and you don't even recognize what it is that like you just have the vision, you just have the goal, but you're just being led and you just don't know where you're being led to. But trust that voice inside of you, trust that drive inside of you, and keep trusting that pull inside of you towards better, towards greater, because that shit is because yeah, just don't settle, don't settle, don't do it. This Florida's going to try to convince you to, don't do it. Don't do it. If you're a woman with your head on your shoulders, you're going to regret every minute of every day that you've ever settled when you know that you could have had better or more. You do not need to be married and pushing out kids before 30. It's okay. You can do that shit in your early 30s and be just fine. Now, post 35, that's when some complications start for both men and women. But this idea, because people really like to rush women, and the reason they want to rush you is because they need you to, they want immature and dumb wives. They want immature and dumb mothers because immature and dumb mothers don't raise mature and intelligent children. Immature and dumb mothers, the young ones, they do what young women do, and that is pass on. They're too tired, they're too living paychecks, like they just don't have the resources or the ability to actually create a different life for their children. um and you're gonna you don't want to get caught up in that. So don't feel threatened by these weird ass timelines that they try setting for women, all of these scare tactics that they're doing, trying to scare you to settle down all before you're 25 and all before you're 30. Don't let that shit bother you. Don't. Because at the end of the day, quality people want quality people. Your number one mission as a woman is to just um become as well-rounded and as yeah, to just become well-rounded and stable. That is literally your goal as a woman. And there's some women that are really like extremely career oriented. As far as I'm concerned, like as a woman, you just need to make enough to take care of yourself. um I'm not really big on like as long as you can take care of yourself, like then you can start the whole day. Once you're in a place where you're comfortable, that's the key here. Don't date when you're uncomfortable. Don't date when you're stressed. Don't date when you're in an extremely unsavory position. Guys like to come out of the woodwork when you're in unsavory positions, just certain unsavory positions. Because, quiet as it's kept, your income as a woman is really important to men. You are judged by all the same standards that men are judged, and then some. Quiet as it's kept, men care about your income, men care about your family, men care about your projected income. Men care about all that shit. People will sit there and say, yeah, well, you can literally, like, they literally like to sit here and pretend like, you can be this, that Cinderella stories exist. People really want you to, men, they watch these, Disney movies and shit like that, and they really like to sit there and pretend like these Cinderella stories exist, where affluent men are just wifing up beautiful poor women. That's not how it's going. No, it's not. Trust and believe that isn't the case. If you broke, they got a million and one men that will, quality men that will pass over your ass because they don't want those problems. They don't want a woman that needs them. They want a woman that wants, or that doesn't need them financially. Men are really interested in women that don't need them financially, and that's the reason why it's quality men. And that's the reason why, unless he makes there's a certain point where God just gets so rich, like, or has so much money that your income really doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, men that are that rich, they might not care about your income, but they care about your social status, and they care about, what you're like. You look at the wives of these billionaires, these millionaires, wealthy and affluent people. It ain't Keisha from the block. Keisha from the block ain't his wife. Um, so yeah, just remember, Cinderella is just a story. There is no prince really coming to save you. You're going to have to save yourself, and you're going to, the best thing that you can do as a woman with her head on her shoulders is to ignore the advice of internet males, and to ignore the advice of your females, the pick me females in your life, and to establish yourself and get to a place where you are comfortable. Because once you're dating from an established and comfortable position, then you'll be in a place where you can, where a relationship with a quality male can be fruitful and can be beneficial for you both. Any other state will just, it'll create a ridiculous power imbalance, or it'll just fuck up the dynamic you have. Nobody likes a baby. No one wants to date a child. Children are very needy, both financially and other ways. And someone that has to, you know, it's just, it ain't cute. It's just not cute. People want to date grown fucking women, and a grown fucking woman has her own shit. So yeah, just get your shit together and then go out there. Um, you'll just have a better chance at attracting and maintaining a relationship with a quality partner that can provide you and your offspring with the lifestyle that you desire. And don't let these dumb, dangerous, and desperate women convince you otherwise. And don't let these low quality, weak males convince you otherwise.